A strong security presence continues at the nation's airports tonight, especially in Detroit, after a second incident on a plane there. At first, it seemed very similar to the one on Christmas Day. We have a look at both incidents, the one on Friday and this one, which happened today. Brendan Gage tells us why authorities are no longer worried about the Nigerian man involved in today's incident, which was also on a flight to Detroit from Amsterdam.
Same flight number, more panic. The crew of Delta Northwest Flight 253 called for help Sunday after a passenger apparently became disruptive after spending an extended amount of time in the lavatory. The plane landed without incident. Authorities are calling it a non-serious situation. Here's what an eyewitness said he saw.
The aircraft, which looks identical to the one from Christmas Day, is about a mile from the field, safely on the ground, but is completely engulfed by emergency vehicles.
Tighter security had been implemented at airports in light of the attempted bombing of the same flight Friday using a small device containing the explosive PETN. President Obama has ordered a review of screening procedures. Investigators want to know how 23-year-old Nigerian Umar Farouk Abdul Muttalab allegedly got an explosive device aboard the plane. Homeland Security says it might be time for a change in the watch list system.
They've been in place for a number of years. Do they need to be adjusted in light of this event?
Abdul Muttalab has been charged with attempting to destroy Flight 253 and for placing a destructive device on the aircraft. The suspect claims extremist ties, but at this time officials do not believe he was part of a larger plot. Brendan Gage, Cron 4 News.
Well, federal authorities say the explosive the Nigerian man failed to detonate is the same chemical used by shoe bomber Richard Reed, and as we heard, it is called PETN. Cron 4's Da Lin is live at SFO. He talked to a former FBI agent who says it's really hard for authorities to detect this. Da?
Well, Catherine, that's because PETN is a powdery substance, and metal detectors like the one at this SFO checkpoint really cannot pick it up. And unless someone's randomly selected by TSA workers for additional screenings, someone carrying PETN can walk through a metal detector without being noticed.
This is what PETN looks like, a white powder.
In power, it rivals military-grade explosives. It's a very, very powerful explosive device or explosive chemical.
A former FBI assistant director of international operations, now a CNN contributor, tells me Bay Area airports would have a hard time detecting this substance as well. Tom Fuentes says it's possible that others can get through airport security again with PETN. That's because metal detectors cannot pick it up. So it's up to police dogs and hand searches to detect this chemical. But not everyone is selected for additional screenings. Most people just have to clear the metal detector to board their flights.
If you have that kind of extensive search, you're going to have people backed out from Terminal 3 to Terminal 1 down the sidewalk. If you don't have enough personnel to do those kind of searches, people will miss their flights.
The longtime FBI agent says there are special machines that can check for PETN, but the U.S. doesn't have enough of them for all airports. So for now, folks will just have to rely on the old-fashioned way of paying closer attention to everyone who walks through the security checkpoint. Aside from the explosive, a lot of people have been asking why more wasn't done to prevent the Nigerian man from getting on a U.S.-bound flight Christmas Day.
Well, it's simple. If there was not enough derogatory information provided when his father went to the embassy and said, I think he's basically saying that my son is thinking bad thoughts and hanging around with bad people, which, plenty of U.S. parents feel the same thing about what their children are up to. But he makes that claim, and he doesn't have specific information that he's actually with a terrorist group or involved in the planning or carrying out of a terrorist act.
Tom Fuentes says, unlike what you see in movies, the reality is the FBI does not have the power to enter these countries and start to investigate these individuals. They have to rely on those countries' agencies to do that for them, and that is if they have the resources and the willingness. We've been talking about airport security. Cron 4's Dave Gangona continues our coverage. He talked to passengers flying in internationally and domestically, talking about their reaction, dealing with some additional measures that they've seen.
There were very few delays out of SFO on Sunday afternoon, and the wait to go through security was minimal. SFO operations officials say that there has yet to be any changes in security restrictions and regulations here. Many domestic passengers flying into San Francisco say that they experienced little or no delays flying in from other cities. These people just got off a flight from New York.
Well, I was pleasantly surprised that there wasn't a very long line. It just didn't seem any different than it usually is. It went quickly and efficiently and smoothly.
Everyone was freely allowed to move up the cabin.
But at the international terminal, many travelers coming in from other countries talked about the many restrictions they experience on their flights entering the U.S.
When we left Cancun, they did an extra check at the gate, pat down, searching all carry-ons. And then on the airplane, we were told that an hour before landing, we had to be seated and with nothing on our laps. And that was a new rule that had just been instituted. It was a little frustrating because people can't go to the bathroom at the last minute and things like that. But the flight attendants are pretty cool about it.
These passengers arrived on a flight from Dubai.
They were being very careful about what everyone's carrying, and as usual, you're not supposed to carry liquid items and all that, and they were asking a lot of questions this time, till when are you here, and all of these.
Generally, there's just one security check for the baggage, and then you get on the flight, but now just before you board the flight, there was another open the bags, and they did the thorough check. That was an additional check that they were doing.
This woman who flew in from Germany said that there are now 3 security checkpoints to go through before boarding, causing a major delay.
The last control was actually just getting into the plane. So in the corridor going on the plane, they were checking the passports again, and they were checking the hand luggages like one by one, so it took longer, and my flight was delayed 2 hours.
At SFO, Dave Gingona, Cron 4 News.